So this customer brought in an 08 Corvette. His NPP dual mode exhaust was not working. It was stuck open. They default to open. He was told by another shop that it would require a computer replacement that would likely cost thousands of dollars to get it to work again. So he should either deal with it or be ready to spend a bunch of money. He'd lost enjoyment in driving the car. His wife didn't like riding with him because it droned driving down the road. So he basically was just not liking it. Brought it to me. I spent about an hour diagnosing the car, making sure all the components work. Turns out it's a little over $50 part to replace. I'll probably pick one up tomorrow, get it swapped out for him. So I made the video to show you some of the things you can check just to make sure that it's this part first, or you can go through the other parts to verify if you have any issues after this part has been checked. Anyway, enjoy. So we're gonna vacuum test the actuator on this NPP exhaust. So get your vacuum pump out. There's a vacuum line up there. You can just see right up in there that I connected it to. And then just pump it up. And as you get vacuum, you should see the actuator closing back there behind it. And it'll hold vacuum until you let it out. Same setup on the other side. Vacuum holds. Give it a second. On the 08 Corvette, take out your passenger inside tail line. There's a little valve on the bumper support. It has two vacuum lines and one plug-in. Put the vacuum gauge to the line that comes from the bottom. Start the car. You should get vacuum. This one's drawing about 18 or so that should be plenty. I've already tested the wires for power and ground on the two pins. So now we're going to check the solenoid valve itself. So I've bypassed the valve completely with just a double hose barb. You can see that the valves are currently open because you can see the shiny spots on the arms. So I'm gonna go start the car, and if I've got vacuum all the way to the diaphragms, that are the actuators, they should close. So let's go see what happens. Test the solenoid. This is what you'll see down inside the bumper cover. It sits like this. There's a bracket that holds it down. Here you've got your vacuum source from the engine, the vacuum outlet that go to the actuators on the exhaust. And if you see down here, this says positive and negative. So when you test that plug at the back, it should have positive and negative on these two wires. First thing we'll do is check continuity. Take your little jumper wire, connect one to one, one to the other. Take your meter, set it to continuity there. I like to clip those, and then looks like we got about a 300 ohm load. So on a coil, that's pretty high. For reference, we have the new one here. Very similar. Only difference, this one has an outlet for the vent instead of just a capped off spot here. It has a little filter behind that cap. Same part, pretty much. Still has positive, negative. So here, do the same thing. And let's see what kind of a known good new part. 25.5 ohms. So about 1/10, so that one should work. If you want to test it, if you have a 12-volt power supply, kind of like one of these little jump boxes or a battery or anything like that, you should be able to hear the solenoid click. Let me turn this on. So we turn on power, hook up the ground, take your power, you should be able to hear a click from the solenoid. That means the solenoid's working. This old one did not do that. So when we hook this up, this should make the exhaust work. I'm going to go ahead and show you how to test the control wires for this solenoid as well, but without the engine running, this won't actually show any voltage. So take your ground for your test light, and there's a stud down here that this mounts to, or next to. Clip that on that stud. Get it on there. And then what will happen is your solenoid has that plug shape, and the left side was positive. So when you turn the car on, this side should have a positive charge. It'll make your test light light up. And then if you want to check for ground, I use these little pins that come with a header wrap. And I'll take that, poke it into the terminal, and then I'll use that to clip my ground, like so. And then I can also check, once I know I have power, I can check that, and it should give me power, and I also know it has ground because that completes the circuit. Here's what it'll look like once you've completely reinstalled the vacuum solenoid. Okay, so now that everything's reconnected, we're going to start it up and see if it works like it's supposed to. Keep an eye on the actuator arms when I rev it up and see what happens. Okay, now that everything's hooked up and working like it's supposed to, looking back, I would say start with the vacuum solenoid. It's easy to get to. It's behind the passenger inside taillight. One torque screw will take it out. You can unplug the solenoid, test the wires, bench test the solenoid like I showed you how to do. If the solenoid tests bad, then you can start going back through the other parts and checking actuators, vacuum lines, looking for vacuum leaks, and things like that. Again, start with the solenoid. It's easy to get to. It's a cheap part. I hope anybody that's having a problem with this, maybe this video helped them figure it out. If you have any questions, put them in the comments. I'll be happy to answer best I can. And thanks for watching.